everybody. So I am just walking and I'm about to go to my park. I'm coming back from the Starbucks and I was crying in the Starbucks because I'm just so frustrated. And I think I released a good chunk of it, I think, but I can still feel it in my heart and in my body. Just a lot of frustration around the spiritual community and maybe the wellness community. You guys, I am so tired, and I think a lot of us are, so very, very tired, and very, very much so in need of an escape, a permanent vacation, permanent rest. And I'm thinking about it, and I was wondering if this experience of tiredness is, I think it's depression. I'm probably depressed. I think I am. It's not in a way where it's I'm depressed, it's just in a way where it's just kind of life, because I'm just so tired. But I also think that it's also borderline suicidal, and not in a way where I would never, I don't know, never say never, but I am not in a place, and I've never been in a place where I feel like I would actually take my life. I'm never going to go through the steps that it takes to do that. It's just not something I've ever felt compelled to do. But in my writing session that I was doing as I was crying because I was frustrated, I was if God appeared through the sky and picked me up and took me with them and we just went off, would I come back? I don't know, it would be hard. It'd be a hard decision, I'm not quite sure I'd want to, and I feel like that's something most people feel, and that's not, to me, that's kind of suicidal, because it's I'm not done with my life. I'm 21 years old. I'm turning 22 in 2 weeks. Less than 2 weeks, in 12 days. I'm so tired. It's just I don't want to be here in terms of I don't want to be alive and doing all of this and caring about the things that I care about, and still trying to remember that money is about manifestation and it's not real, and having to do all these things. I don't want to do it. And I think I'd have a much more joyful time just sitting in Spirit's arms. But I also am not keen on dying, and just cutting my life short. No, I'd like to live out the full expanse of my life. But I'm tired. And I think a lot of us are tired. And we're in, or I would say I'm in a weird space where it's casually suicidal, where I feel I would never do anything, but if an easy out came through Spirit, not I don't want to get hit by a bus or a quick death like that, but something just kind of it's just kind of would I take it? I mean, maybe, because that's how tired I am. And I was crying because I was so frustrated, because I was I'm trying to take myself on a vacation and just have a break. And the only way I can describe it is I just want to go somewhere that has a body of water and nature. I don't want to be in a city. I just want to be around nature. I want it to be nice temperature, something just calm, not oppressively hot, not cold. I just want to breathe. I don't want to think. I don't want to have to use my brain. I don't really want to speak to people. I just want to breathe. I just want to relax. Feel like one of those, I feel like it's like something that older people are like, I just want to relax. Like, I just want to relax. I don't even really want to sleep. You know, I don't want to go on a vacation just to sleep. I just want to chill. I just want to lay there or sit there, just do whatever I want to do. I don't want to spend money, really. I don't want to talk to people. I don't want to go on adventures. I don't want to go rock climbing. Like, I just want to relax. That's all I want to do. And it's like $3,000. And I know that, you know, you should never say that you don't have money, because money is blah, blah, blah. But it's just like, why is it so expensive? Why is it so expensive? You know? And it's like, I was looking up, like I would love to go to a spa, like a spa resort, like a wellness retreat, or like a silence retreat, you know? Somewhere chill. I don't have a car, so I'm trying to find places where things are already set up. I don't want to cook. I just want to be taken care of. And it's so expensive. And I don't think it's justified. I don't, because all of these little wellness retreats and shits like that, they're all run by these like spiritual people who are like connected to themselves and to the world around them. And it's like, fuck off. Like, if you cared about people, you wouldn't be charging this much. You wouldn't be charging this much. Or at least you would have like a scholarship program or something. Like, what the fuck? Like, this shit is expensive. And I don't care what anybody says. I don't think it's that expensive to run. I don't think the prices match how much it costs to run it. I don't. I really, really don't. I think that it's overpriced. And the only people that can access it are other white people. And it's always run by white people. Even though the practices that they're doing are not like Greek practices, or like, what are other white, like, spiritual stuff? Like Irish or Celtic practices. They're like traditions that are from cultures of color, people of color. And they're on land that is like indigenous or like not their own, you know. Nobody's going to like Ireland and planning these wellness retreats. It's like in Arizona and like the lands where like the indigenous people were, or it's in Mexico somewhere, or it's in Costa Rica, you know. And it's still like $1 million, and it's like, you guys fucking suck ass and I hate you. And that's truly how I feel, and I'm not going to take it back, and I don't feel bad about it, because it's like, what the hell? Like, scammers, full-on scammers. And I was crying because I was so upset about it. And like, even if it's, you know, if money isn't a thing, and like, you know, just invest in, because blah, blah, blah. Like, it's just like, even so, it's still crazy, and it's not justifiable, and it's evil, if you ask me. It's just evil, you know. One night is like $250 American. Holy, like, come on. And that doesn't include food the whole time, and obviously you'd have to fly somewhere. It's just like most people only stay for like one night or 2 nights, because that's all you can afford. And it's like, come on. Like, people will like save up for like a year or 2 just to go on these trips, and it's just, it makes me so frustrated, because this is how, like, those wellness spaces should just be what Earth is like, because that is not Earth's natural energy. It's a space of healing. It's like, Earth is a resort, you know. At one point it was like that, and you know, I understand that these people are trying to bring back those spaces through the creation of these things, but the price just feels so evil. I can't. Especially because they just, you know, it's unattainable or inaccessible for many people. Especially when you're desperate and you're like on the edge and you need it. It's like, you'd have to plan for something like this. And that's like requiring thinking ahead. Which for many of us, it's like, we are seeing what's right in front of us. And burnout usually hits you like, you know, it's like, oh, whoa, I'm in a deep, dark hole. It's not really like one of those things where it's like, oh, a year from now I'm going to get burnt out. Like, you know, maybe you can kind of see that coming. But for me, at least, I know I've known that I'm burnt out for a while now. So I've been doing what I can. Like, I took off a semester of school. I wasn't working for a while. I went to Tulum, but I still needed to make money while I was there. So I was doing my readings and things like that. It's the first time I did that, which I'm really proud of myself for doing. But here I am, and I thought I had given myself time off, but I realized I was still just stressed out about having a job. So then I got a job, but I'm still so tired. And it's just like, oh, where's the break? Where's the break? I don't know, man. I don't know. And I'm really trying to have faith and trust. But I'm so frustrated and pissed off. And really, it's no one's fault. Like, you know, can't really blame the white people who are holding these retreats. It's just the world that we live in right now. And I guess it's my responsibility to shape my reality. And so I have to change my mindset or whatever the fuck. But I'm just like, bro, like, can I get like an IOU or something and just like get some help? Like, this is crazy. This is crazy, crazy, crazy. Even just relief of like the mental anxiety would be nice, you know? Half of it is just anxiety about the future and, you know, what's gonna happen, and oh, I need to be doing more, I'm not moving fast enough. And if it were as simple as change your mind, then I would, because God knows I am trying. So this is just one of those days. I recognize I probably won't feel like this tomorrow. I think it's because I've been looking and I'm feeling frustrated that I'm starting to have all these other emotions. But I just, like, you guys, I'm not gonna lie, I envy the rich right now. I just want to book myself a vacation. I really, really do. And I'm going to. But you see, the predicament I'm in is that if I book myself a vacation, I just got paid and I need to pay off my credit card bill. But if I pay off my credit card bill and then I book a vacation, I'll just be in debt again. Which is like, you know, it is what it is. And like, honestly, I'm fine with that, I guess. But it's just so hard. It's like, you know, you make a few steps forward and then it feels like you take a gazillion steps back. And I've got to get control of my spending so that I'm just not, you know, losing money like that. But it's not like I'm being frivolous like crazy. I had a little bit of a thing. I was trying to treat myself. I was trying to get something nice for myself. This is how I got here. I'm just like, I need to win the lottery or something. I really do. And I'm like, you know, it's so annoying because I don't even let myself fully sink into like a wallowing. I'm always like, oh, but you are responsible for this and this and that. And it's just like, damn, like, we can't catch a break. Like, anyone who says that poor people are lazy or just like, don't, you know, try. It's like, it couldn't be further from the truth. You're always so aware of why you are where you are. And you're always trying to be responsible and be accountable for yourself and find a way to change. Like, I don't know any poor people who are just lazy and don't try, you know. I really don't. And don't think about why they are where they are and how they can change that. I don't know any. I don't think that there's many poor people like that, you know, that exist, like, that are like that. It's kind of impossible to be like that when you don't have money like that. But yeah, I'm just super, super frustrated. And I think like a spider bit me in the middle of the night or something, because I've got this like thing on my foot. I want a break. I need a break. But I'm trying not to sit in this energy for too long. I'm just trying to release it so I don't have to be so frustrated, because I was really pissed off. I just, and I know it's worth the money, but that's what they want us to think. Like, they want us to be like, it's worth the money, and because they know that we're desperate and we need it. It's like couples who go to therapy when it's like already over for them, and it's just like help. You just start throwing a bunch of money at it, but it's like, I've been shot like 12 times, and I'm like, a 6-day vacation will fix it. It's very, very hard. And it's actually ridiculous, because if you look at my circumstances, I would think, why do you need a vacation? Like, what's going on? What's wrong with you? But I'm still so tired, so burnt out. I can't even explain it. It's like just a heaviness in the way I speak, and it's showing up in my body, because my hand hurts. This hand, it's just like kind of sore, and I'm sick. I have a cold that won't go away, and my sinuses are blocked. And I know it's a lot. Most of it is due to stress and anxiety. And I promise you, I really try not to be stressed, and I really do try not to be anxious. I try to remember that everything is within my control, and nothing is too big, and miracles do happen, and God is real, and the universe isn't working against you, and all this stuff. But when I tell you, it does not make it easier when you're like at the edge and you're just so tired. Like, I feel emotional again, because this is really the human experience. It's not easy. It's really, really not easy. And even though I'm mad at those white people, I understand that it's probably not easy for them either. And everybody at some level is going through their own thing. And then as a collective, we're going through a lot. And then our world is going through a lot. So we're all taking on so much energy all the time. And it weighs you down. It really does. But I'm just like, God, we all really need a miracle. And we all really need a break. Like, it could not be more necessary and more important than right now, and we all deserve it. It just makes me sad, because I'm just like, when is it coming? Like, when is the good karma coming? I don't want to have to earn anything else, I feel like it's been earned, I feel like just even being alive right now, and like staying alive and dealing with all this, if you're actually trying to be present and being aware of everything around you and trying to heal, like, you've earned your vacation. Like, holy shit, like, please. It's so hard. It's just so hard. And I really do want to just get it off my chest so I don't hold it, because I really don't, like, wallowing does literally nothing for me at this point. It's nice to be in this energy so that I can feel it and get it out, but I don't want to stay here. I don't want to feel helpless, and I don't want to live in that energy of just being a victim to all of the brutality that's happening here, because, like, what the fuck does that do? It doesn't do anything. I don't want to be like that. So I'm not trying to stay in this energy. I'm really trying to let it go, but it is just very, very hard, and we have to acknowledge that, because it's like a crime not to, It's like just not seeing the world for what it is. You can still be tapped into your dreams and be tapped into the soul of the earth, and understanding that, that heavenly energy is just a second away, and all of that. You can still believe in all of that, really believe in that, and also recognize that it is very, very hard to be on earth, and it's very, very hard to be alive and to stay alive and to want to stay alive. Like, it feels like I understand people who are suicidal and just look at death as just like a break from it all, because it's like, you know, I remember seeing this post and it was like, if I could just like die for like a year. And I get it. I totally get it, because it's just like, oh my God, it's so much. And it's so up and down, because I didn't feel this intensely yesterday. Yesterday I was just like, oh, I really would love a vacation for my birthday and blah, 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 blah. But today, now I'm just, you know, I think with seeing the numbers and having to really plan it out and seeing how much everything costs, even trying to keep in mind, you know, that don't make money a thing, money doesn't matter. Even trying to keep all that in mind, it's still really hard, you know. It's hard to remember that money doesn't matter, because I'm also really trying to not be a burden to my parents and therefore build up a savings, and I'm trying very hard to be responsible, financially responsible, and not just spend money when I don't have it and things like that. And then I'm also trying to remember that, you know, you always have money. It's just like, it's just a lot. It's a lot. And then so I'm trying to surrender, and I'm trying to just give spirit my burdens and just let it go and just live in the moment and just let it be. And I think that that's what I'm trying to do right now, by just feeling what I'm feeling. Because I always feel the need to like put in all of these disclaimers so that people don't think that I'm just a brainless, you know, fart, not doing anything and not thinking about all these other stuff. And it's just like, oh, you're not really being aware. Like, shut up. Like, it's just, that's why it's just like, is there really anyone who's not aware? Like, everybody is quite aware of what's happening, and we're all just reacting differently and choosing to stay in that reactive energy for different amounts of time. But I feel like we're all quite aware of what's going on and how hard everything is. And I'm just like, oh, you know, I just need a miracle. I just need something. I really, really, really need, like a magic trick. Just something to come in and shift things and make it easier. And I think that that's not something that I should have to earn at this point, and it's not something that any of us should have to earn. It's something that we deserve. Like, we deserve like the hand of God to just come in and like swipe things over and make things better. That's literally what people deserve. You know, we've suffered enough. Like, it's so insane that we should even think that we have to earn easiness. Like, no. It should not be this hard. It really should not be this hard. And it's not enough to say it doesn't have to. You have to just change your mindset. Like, it's not enough to say that right now, because multitasking is like we are multitasking. Most people are juggling a gazillion things at once. If you're alive, you are multitasking and doing an incredible job, because like tapping into the present and really seeing what the fuck is going on and really trying to acknowledge all the ways that you need change in your life, and then feeling all of that is like, oh my God, it's like I want to die. Like, you feel so helpless. And that feeling is not invalid. That feeling is totally valid, because it does feel helpless. And that's not to say you are helpless, but that feelings are real. The feeling of helplessness is real, and it's there, and it's not there for no reason. It's not just created in your mind. Anxiety isn't just created in your mind. It's a real thing that exists because something else brought it on. It's real. You know, it's not just as simple as thinking differently. Or even if it is as simple as thinking differently, that is not actually a simple thought. Because manifestation is not simple, or else everybody would be able to do it all the time. And we are manifesting all the time, but manifesting something that requires you to really believe in something different, and believe that it is possible for you, is not easy. Maybe it's simple, but it's not easy. It's really not easy. Having faith is not easy. Having hope is not easy. Being positive is not easy. And we should never pretend like it is. And we should never shame people for not being able to do that, because it's completely understandable why you would not be able to be not be able to have hope. It is completely understandable why you would not believe in God. It is completely understandable why you would be a negative person. It's completely understandable. Is it helpful to your life? Probably not, Without faith, I'm really not quite sure what I would do, because then it would really be like, why am I alive? Like, what is the point? Faith is really what is carrying me through so much. But it's not easy by any means. So there's no shame around not being able to do that. It's just, if you can't do that, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I'm sorry, because I get it. I get that it's hard. But this is why spirituality is so needed right now, because if anything is going to carry us through these next few years, it's that hope, and it's being able to see beyond what's right in front of you. It's faith that gives you the ability to see the future and know that there is something more. It's not just this right now. Just keep swimming, just keep going. It gets better. All of those things are all of those things are like spirituality. It's just having hope. It's having blind faith, because you really can't see, but the hope allows you to imagine, and your imaginations are your future. It's your future manifestations, your dreams. But it's not an easy thing to do by any means, and we really just, it's not cool to pretend like it is. It's not. And like, same thing with money things. Like, it's not easy to just change your mindset around money and feel like it's, it's just like a tool. It's just like a thing that you, like, shut up. Like, if it were that easy, we would all do it. Human beings aren't stupid. Like, nobody is purposely putting themselves in situations where they are suffering because they want to suffer. No, there are a gazillion things that lead to the way that we are. And it's also ancestral, and there's so many different energies that you are battling all at once to keep your head above water. So the people who are able to stand and then walk through the water, like, holy strength, but also access and perspective, and how did you come into this world, and what have you worked through, and what did you not have to work through, because what was just not a thing for you in this lifetime. Like, there's so much to keep in mind when it comes to judging what is easy and what people should and shouldn't be able to do. There's a lot to keep in mind around healing and growth and releasing and shifting and ascending and all that bullshit. It's just like, oh my God, I'm just super, super tired. And I understand that we all made the choice to come here, and we all knew what we wanted to do, all that, whatever. I get it. But keeping all of that in mind, it's almost dehumanizing, because it's like asking you to live in your soul when you're on earth. We are human beings. I am on earth. I am a human being right now, and I know that my soul is here, my soul is within me, and the soul is all around us, and we are souls, and we are beings of light, and blah blah, whatever. But I'm living a human experience and this human experience is very real. And whether I'm a soul having a human experience and this is temporary or whatever, it doesn't make it any less real. And the trauma that I am acquiring is very, very real. And the pain that I'm feeling is very, very real. And the exhaustion is very, very real. And as a soul, it's like, holy, like, God, just need a break. Just need like a break and true acknowledgement that shit is very, very hard, you know. And I really try to keep it positive because I understand that we are all aware that it's so hard, and everybody is looking for a glimpse of light and, you know, a sign that things are getting better, confirmation, because just trusting is like, you are trusting, but you're also on the way. Like, and part of the trusting is like, you know, having things show up in your reality to remind you that, yeah, you're not crazy, you know. And so when nothing is showing up, or all the things that are showing up are just so they feel so empty that you really are just like bare bones trust alone is how you're getting through. It is a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. And that's what's being asked of us right now. And it's not fair to pretend like that is an easy ask, because it's not, you know. And I just wish I could just, even as I'm saying all of this, it's like there's still so much that is on my chest, because I just need it to be over. Like, I need this experience or this part of life to just at least give me a break, you know. And then it's like, oh, well, you have to give yourself the break. You have to just let go yourself. And it's like, okay, well, I'm going to try, you know. I'm going to book this vacation, and I'm going to try and not worry about the money and just let it be and trust that things will be figured out in the end and things will end up being okay. And, you know, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm not, you know, scared and like I'm not worried, because I am. And not worrying does not, worrying does not mean that I don't believe, and worrying does not mean that I don't trust. And it's evil to say things like that, because then it just makes you feel even more insecure about how you're trying to heal and how you're trying to survive. Like, every single one of us are just trying to survive. We're just trying to get through. And we're trying to do things that help us get ahead. And in the meantime, you can't stop your emotions from coming up. They just are going to come up. You're going to feel things. If you're not feeling anything at all, that's not good. You know, that doesn't make any sense, because then you're not really tapped into your human experience. And isn't the whole point of coming to Earth, being human, if you're coming to Earth as a human being, so that you can understand the human experience, so that you can also participate in making it easier for other souls that will come here and experience incarnation? Because we understand, like, we all signed up to come here because we all know, and I don't know what perspective everybody's soul is coming from, but at least for me, I think that I came here because I'm aware of how hard incarnation is and how painful and difficult it can be. And I probably took on certain experiences because I needed to remember what it was like so that I could shift things, so that I could be a part of changing, you know, the experience of incarnating beings, because I don't believe that we deserve to suffer. And I know that suffering is not just human, is not just a human right and just like innate to human beings, because I know that Lemuria existed, and I know that there were states there was eras of the earth that were not so hard, you know. I know that suffering is just a thing that exists, but not like this. It's so unbalanced. It's so unbalanced, and it's so painful. And the crazy thing is that you're also constantly being gaslit as you're suffering. By yourself, by other people, by just, you know, structures in the world that are telling you that you have no right to feel the way that you do, or that your life is not that bad, or that things are going to get better. And yet, you know, when, you know, even the concept of time over here is so fucking insane, because it's like, oh, just keep pushing, keep blah, blah, blah. And it's like, girl, when? Like, time is so significant on Earth. Time is so significant to human beings, especially when you're in desperate situations, especially when you're traumatized. And every single one of us are traumatized in one way or the other. So time is real, and time, and knowing that things are going to get better by a certain time period is important. Like, time is not something that just doesn't exist here. It exists here. Time exists, whether it's tangible or intangible, or whether it's in reality or illusion, doesn't matter. Either way, it exists. Everything exists all at once, right? It just does. And so pretending like that is something that we should easily be able to shut off and not care about is crazy. It's really crazy. Like, I need to know when things are getting better. Like, it's actually evil to try and tell somebody that, you know, you don't deserve, or you shouldn't be thinking about when. What do you mean I shouldn't be thinking about when are things going to get better?
what? You just want me to sit into this suffering until, like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Stop telling people don't care about the timing. Stop saying divine timing. Maybe I'm just pissed off right now, so I'm just at the extremes of my emotions. But I'm just advocating for how I feel. I'm just speaking as a human being. That shit is stupid. The spiritual world, the spirit people, need to stop saying that. Stop talking about divine timing and bullshit like that. I get it. Things are not going to happen, when I want them, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. Okay, whatever, fine. But please stop acting like that is an okay thing to say. Because it's not. It's not. It's not okay to say that. It's really not, Oh, fuck. That duck? There's a little duck. I mean, it wasn't little, it was big. There was a duck and it just flew really low right in front of me. I'll take that as a sign of something. What? I'm not sure, but I'll take it. But yeah, oh my God. It's just such a frustrating experience. And I think I'm just sick of being gaslit. Mainly by the spirit world. I mean, not by the spirit world, but by other spiritual, just the spiritual teachings right now that we have on earth around tranquility and calmness. Especially because so many of those teachings are so ancient and they come from a time on earth that is not reflective of what earth is like right now. So trying to tap into that ancient knowledge is kind of bullshit, because it's like applying that to the real world, to this present reality, is it doesn't really work. If you can apply it, but it's to get to that place is sacrificing a lot and exploiting a lot. Because I've been to Tulum, right, where there's a lot of people going because they're trying to escape the city and the stress, and they're trying to change their life. So they quit their job, they go to Tulum, they work on a digital, blah, 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 blah. And it's been very healing for many people. But we also have to acknowledge the realities that are happening. So as people are getting to have their little spiritual awakening and go to Tulum and things like that, and I've done the same thing, there are also the people who are from Tulum, and the people who are in, there's also Mexican people there whose work is being exploited, and their land is being taken to build these cute vacation getaways and these really tranquil jungle nature vibes places there, for digital nomads. So it's not like things are happening with no reaction on the other end. And that's not to blame anybody, but that is just to say that it does not make sense to pretend like you living in your peace is, harmless to everyone else, in the ways that a lot of people are going about it. It feels like for a lot of white people who are running away from the world that their ancestors built in America and Canada and Europe and all of these places, and they're coming to these countries that are considered third world or low income or whatever the fuck. And they're coming to these places and they're starting fresh and they're reconnecting with their soul and they're building these centers and blah, 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 blah. It's they get to heal, but on the backs of everybody else who is suffering. It doesn't really make any sense. And it's repeating history. It's when white people came to America and to Canada and to the Caribbean, all these places, and started fresh, and they got to make a new start for their families on the backs of other people. It required, expansion and growth required the sacrifice of literal lives and the sacrifice of people's homes, and it required people being neglected and forgotten about and erased in order for this new beginning, blah, blah, blah. It's really crazy. And it's we're operating in different centuries, because you have the immigrant dream, which is all of these places, people who are from places that have been exploited and torn apart by white colonialism, coming to these countries that were built up by us and made for white people, and coming to these places now, but now everybody is leaving those places and going back to the places that we're from to start fresh and have a new, and it's just like, what the fuck? And they're using teachings that are from our people, and they're, taking our cultural practices and just saying that it belongs to the earth and blah, 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 and not doing anything to give back. And the way that they give back is like giving a discount on like their healing center to like the people from the land, or like, it's just bullshit. It's just straight up bullshit. And this is not to say that white people and, rich people don't deserve to heal or whatever. It just means that we need to be honest. We just need to be honest. We just need to be honest about everything that's happening all at once. We just need to be honest. We just have to be honest about it. You can heal. You deserve to heal. You deserve to be happy. You alone, as that single white person, didn't, create this world and blah, blah, blah. You deserve to be happy. Let's just be honest, okay? Because it's just the gaslighting. It's the gaslighting. It's just too much, And I'm angry right now. I'm just very angry. I'm just feeling it all, and I'm just like, I want to like wring somebody's neck, because I'm just like, it's like, don't treat me like I'm stupid. It's like spitting in somebody's face. That's how it feels. That's how it feels. And I'm sure that there's so many things that could be said, that the same could be said for me, because I'm not in the most disenfranchised state, There's so many privileges that I have. So we're all at different levels of suffering, but we are all suffering. And let's just be honest about it. Let's just be honest about it. And these prices, they just don't make sense to me. Like, you can charge that price, but okay, then like, why don't you have like a week in every month that is like way lower in pricing to make it accessible to other people? Like, why can't you do something like that? It's just, no, every night, $300 US for one night. And then that doesn't include the plane ticket, that doesn't include transport. Sometimes that includes a meal, sometimes. But that doesn't include like a spa treatment or anything like that. Like, and then I was saying, like in my thing, all of the all-inclusive resorts and vacation places, like it's built around a lot of alcohol and a lot of partying and a lot of drinking and things like that. Things that I don't really want to do. I just want to relax. I just want to breathe out. Or to get to the really beautiful nature places where I can just vibe and be on my own, I need a car. I don't know how to drive. I don't have a car. No one can drive me. Everybody's working. You know what I mean? Like, these are just where the blocks come in that are just so crazy. Like, they're just so crazy. Like, I live in Canada. I can get to a beautiful place. But it's just going to require a lot of things that also cost a lot of money. And it's also going to require me to do a lot of work that I don't have the energy to do. I don't want to have to think about food. I don't. I want a nice, luxurious trip, and I want it for cheap because I deserve it. I don't want to have to pay for it. I don't. And I feel like a whiner, and maybe I am whining. And what? I'm still going to pay. I'm still going to figure it out. I just am whining because I'm just like, this sucks. Like, it sucks. It sucks. It's so frustrating, and it's so annoying, and I just hate it. I hate it. I hate it, and none of us deserve it. And I've got to get back. So now I got to get back to work. Because I have to get back to work because I have to find a way to build these ikayas and make them free so that people don't have to pay. Because no one should have to pay to heal. Healing should not cost money. Sanctuaries should not cost money. It's not a sanctuary if it costs money. Like, there shouldn't be all of these barriers. There shouldn't be all of these barriers. And it's so annoying because they are also like fully destroying all of the cities that all the regular people live in, so that like trying to build like an oasis here is hard. It's very hard. They were just building so many fucking condos, and it's just like, nobody wants these ugly ass condos that are small and cost $1 million a month. It's just so upsetting. It's so upsetting, and it's so frustrated. But I think I just needed to vent and rant. I just need to let it out and let it go, It's just so hard not to be bitter. It's very, very hard not to be bitter. Like, It's not easy being positive, It's not easy being positive. And I'm like, if there's one thing I can say, it's that I can be positive. I'll try and do that all day long, but it's not easy. It's not easy. It is very easy to feel negative and angry and really like sit in that. It's easy. It's easy because it's right there, because there's so much of that energy all around you. Creating that positive, like happy energy is not easy. But that doesn't mean that it should be expensive. That doesn't make sense, It just doesn't. It really just does not make sense. And at the end of the day, who am I going to blame? The government and the people in power. Who are those people? I don't know. I don't know. I just know that there are people who can do something, who have enough money to do something that wouldn't even really be going out of their way to do something, and that aren't. And those are the people I'm upset with. And yeah. And I know everybody has their own trauma, so even those people are hurting in their own way. But girl, like, I'm hurting and I'm still trying to do something to help. And no, this isn't like a competition, but like, if you're hurting and you have $1 billion versus me hurting and I don't, like, maybe you can figure it out, like maybe you can find a way to still contribute, and not through your stupid ass charity that doesn't do anything. Like, please. It's just like, oh my God, I can't. I can't. It's actually like, it's laughable, but on the same time, it's extremely depressing. I just, I understand the hate. I understand the hate for the rich people. Because it's just like, what are you doing? Like, do something for the rest of us, please. Please, like, I'm begging. Like, just, like, make something. Just make something that's free and accessible that you can maintain with your own rich dollars that the rest of us can just go to. And it's just like, please, like, oh my God. So when I get my money, because I don't want to be poor my whole life. I don't plan on it. I'm not interested in the poor life. I'd like to be rich. So when I get rich, which hopefully will be very, very soon. Hopefully it's like now, like in the next hour or something. I'm gonna build these akayas, and someone hold me to it. Don't let me forget all this shit that I'm saying. And I gotta build these akayas, and I've gotta make them free, or at least as low cost as I can. I really want, my dream is for them to be funded by government as reparations. And so, like, the first awakening akayas that I want to build are for descendants of ancestors who lived and survived through slavery, and not lived and survived as in they made it all the way through, but just had the experience of enslavement, of chattel slavery. It's for their descendants as well as the ancestors themselves. I want to create like places on Earth in the different lands where slavery took place. This is like specifically for Black people, and have them be like these healing sanctuaries that every Black person who is a descendant of that historical experience, spiritual experience, gets to come to and visit and just heal and spend time connecting. And I don't want it to cost any money. I want it to be like a reparations, like government funded program funded by all of these nations that participated and benefited from slavery, and funded by all these people that participated and benefited from slavery. I don't really want to have us pay for anything. I don't think we should have to, and I think that it's not asking for too much. But I recognize that, I also don't want to have to wait to prove that to anyone. So I'm going to try and put my energy towards figuring out how I can build it in small ways and just start where I can, like my readings were like a way that I was trying to, build up trust in my own ability to connect with people's energy and build up my own strength in my spiritual gifts and things like that, so that I could ultimately continue to give that to the akayas. And my writings and my musicals are also part of my little healing process, and I'm trying to give voice to stories that I think my ancestors want to tell and that are significant to us. And my like dance classes that I want to do are a part of that. Like my music is a part of that. So I'm trying to do it in small ways and eventually get a piece of land and build the first one. And if I can get government funding, that would be really awesome. If people have to pay, we'll try and keep it as low as we possibly can, and try and create scholarships and things like that. And I'd love it to be just like a community center. Like it would become like a community center where people can just visit for free whenever they want. And it's just open access. That's my dream. I'm trying to get experience working in the community sector, so that's what I'm doing right now so that I can learn about how things operate and things like that. So I'm on my way and I'm getting there slowly but surely. Today is just one of those rough days because I'm really tired and I'm feeling how tired I am. I think also because it's very hot, and I think the hotness just makes everything sweat and boil up inside. So I'm just feeling all of that. But yeah, ultimately I will be okay, so don't worry about me, and I think we're all going to be okay. I do see, the light at the end of the tunnel. It's just hard. It's just hard. Sometimes I just wish it could just all be so easy. Just super, super easy, I wish, It will happen though, and we will get to a better place. Don't take my sadness as some type of marker for the fact that we're never going to get to a better place. We will. Absolutely. I believe that in my soul, or else I wouldn't be able to do any of this. I believe it in my heart, in my soul, that things are going to get better for all of us, every single one of us who deserve it. No, but we're all going to heal. I believe that in my soul. I believe it, I believe it, I believe it. You don't have to try and get me to believe that. I believe it already. And I believe in God. I believe in spirit. I believe that they love us. I believe that the universe loves us and wants the best for us. I believe that the earth is healing. All of these things I believe, like, to my core, which is what drives me through, which is what pulls me through. And it really is that deep ancestral belief. It's like our ancestors contribute so much to our healing and to our just ability to keep going. Because I talked about that in another video, but you really have to think about what it took to survive generations of slavery. You have to think about it. You can think about it in application to really any oppressed group. But for me, I'm thinking about Black people, I think about women, I think about queer people, I could think about many, different groups. But for me, thinking about Black people, and specifically with my Jamaican heritage, and even with apartheid, with my South African heritage, and just the heritage of Black people and what we've gone through on this earth, and Black women, what we've gone through on this earth, that faith runs very, very deep, and it is unbreakable. It is unshakable. That strength is very, very real. And, it's also very real, this desire to get rid of the strong Black woman, stereotype, because being strong at that level it's not really a gift, because it's more so of a burden. It's a reaction to trauma, and you shouldn't have to be that strong. There's a more balanced energy and strength that I think Black women deserve, and same with all other groups. But yeah, I think about that resilience, and it's very deep, it's ancestral. And part of the healing is undoing some of that resilience and allowing ourselves to break, and allowing ourselves to fall apart, and allowing ourselves to be so enraged, and allowing ourselves to not want to do anything, and allowing ourselves to stop working and to sit in pleasure and to reclaim our energy and our time. Part of the healing is giving away some of that strength. It's giving away some of that resilience and not being so unbreakable. Because if you don't break, then you can't shift, and you can't release, and you can't let go. And I don't want us to continue in this energy. We don't need to. So I think that acknowledging all of this rage and this anger is really important. And I think that that's part of the ancestral healing and the generational healing that so many of us are doing on Earth right now. I think most people that are here on Earth right now are generational healers. And so even if you think that you're not contributing in ways that are huge and significant to the human process, you are healing your entire ancestral line with the help of your ancestors and with the help of your family that's here now, just through recognizing your pain and recognizing your anger and really sitting in that and not allowing it to fall away and not allowing it to be stepped over, really making it seen, really making it heard. That's why we call for reparations. It's not even so much the justice of getting what we deserve afterwards. It's about the acknowledgement of what happened. What do you go like? How big is your acknowledgement going to be? Of what happened to our ancestors, of what happened to our people, and what happened therefore to us. Because many of us, if you believe in reincarnation and believe in also having, the shared lives and experiences of your ancestors, many of us are those ancestors as well. And even if you're not, you should care, because you should care about what people are going through, And that doesn't mean that you need to be on the front lines doing you're doing the work just when you're healing and when you're holding space for yourself, and you're also being kind and compassionate to others and holding space for all of their complexities and what they're going through. We just have to all acknowledge that we're all going through a lot, and everybody deserves a break. We all just deserve a break. Holy, it's a lot. It's a lot. Yeah, but this is the ancestral work, so talk to your ancestors. And also, it's like recognizing that the work that our ancestors are doing is also, it's tiresome work, and they are also exhausted, and they're in their death state, and they're working. It's not like, and this is also the problem. This is why I want to create these sanctuaries on Earth, because Earth is also as much as it is a grounded place, it is also a space of the in-between. I said in my thing that Earth is like the right hand of God, and it is such a huge connecting point. It's like a portal, in terms of the way that we connect so deeply with the spiritual world, because everything on Earth is spiritual, and everything is spiritual just in general. But it's such an embodiment of spiritual energy, because Earth is all about manifestation, that your ancestors, as much as they are at rest in terms of being dead, even in their death energy, they are not able to really rest, because there's all of this trauma that exists that everybody is trying to work through and let go of, so that we can create space for real healing and real rest and real pleasure and the different experience of the death state. When I first started making a lot of videos on this channel around spiritual energy, I was talking about changing the energy around death and darkness. And part of that has to do with the fact that even those who are experiencing death are not getting to experience it in the ways that we deserve. Death is not meant to be such a traumatizing experience and such a traumatizing act. Even the fact that there are ghosts and stories of being haunted here on Earth and things like that, that is because of trauma. We shouldn't have spirits just lingering around and possessing people and scaring people. That's because of trauma, that people aren't able to let go and move on and move forward and be at peace and be at rest. Ancestors can exist in a state of bliss, and they can exist in an energy of harmony with death and life, and just full merging of the incarnating experience with the spiritual experience, with the resting state. Ancestors can and should be able to exist like that, but so many of our ancestors are actually having to continue the work even through their death, which is way too much. People deserve to be at peace. People deserve to rest. People deserve to sleep. So it's also about being patient with your ancestors if you are asking them for help, and also doing what you can to make it easier for them, and recognizing that they're doing a lot of work on their end too. That's something I have to be better at. I forget all the time. And it's also because there's so many fears around ancestral energy, because we're afraid of ourselves, as human beings. And so we also conjure up all of these scary things around ancestors too. And you can't always trust everybody. And I'm sure that that's true in some ways, but trust your intuition. Who's here to help you and love you, even if you don't even if you've never met them and they're from a long time ago, so you don't know them exactly, and your family may not know them anymore and things like that. And for many of us, that is just going to be the case. If you're like me and you have the history of slavery in your ancestral line, there's a lot of my ancestors that I just don't know. I just don't know them, on my dad's side specifically. On my mom's side, I'm lucky enough to be able to go back and track them through South Africa, because we're South African, and you just have a better hold of your history in that way. But on my dad's side, I really don't know many of my ancestors, and that does not mean that I should be afraid to connect with them and talk to them, because they are, especially because I'm trying to create a healing space for them, and I need to know what they want. It was just so evil to try and create this narrative around ancestors that they are some type of danger to us. And everything, it's obviously like the spirit world is the spirit world, and good and bad is kind of blurry there. So obviously you have to be careful and be mindful, but it really is like common sense. Like, use your brain and use your intuition and what feels good and what doesn't, and go from there. Like, it's just like all this overcomplicating to make us afraid of even trying to reach out and trying to connect. And I don't think, this is just personally, I don't know, I'm not going to say it as a fact, but I don't think that there's anything you have to do just beyond talking, Like, you don't have to learn how to do these spells, and you don't have to make this, like, concoction. I think that talking is enough. I think that holding the space for them to connect with you is enough. I feel like that's all you have to really do. Like, I've been moving towards a space where I don't even really need to use my tarot cards and my oracle cards to connect with spirit and connect with my aunts. And even when I talk about, like, right now I use spirit really to talk about everything, because it's where I feel most safe and it's where I feel most protected. And it's probably because of my upbringing. I think if I was raised with my spirituality beliefs being being around my ancestors, I'd probably feel more comfortable just saying ancestors. But because I was raised within Christianity and Catholicism, because I went to Catholic school, I still have a lot of fears. So I'm slowly but surely trying to get myself to feel comfortable saying, like, ancestors, But in my heart of hearts, I know that they would never hurt me, and I know that they're here and they love me, and I know that they are so deeply entrenched in everything that I do and all of my creativity and all of my dreams. I know that they are my ancestors' dreams as well, which is why I've always talked about them, even though I didn't always have a connection, that was very apparent. It's always been there because I've always known. And I'm just recently starting to use God again and reclaiming that term and understanding and moving beyond the Christian realm of it and the Catholic realm of it and just using it as my own, term, and just reclaiming language in order to be something that I'm not afraid of, but something that is healing for me and helps me feel connected to things beyond just the quote-unquote physical, our understandings of the physical. And that's been really healing and helpful. But yeah, just being mindful of that with your ancestors as well. I was saying something before, but I got distracted. I got caught up in what I was talking about, so I don't remember what I was saying. But oh well, I just saw 11:11. I didn't actually just see it, but I saw 10. What did I see? I saw 10, 10, 11. Which, if you take away the zeros, is actually just 11:11, which is kind of cool, because I'm looking at the clock now and I'm realizing that I thought I had been recording for an hour and 10 minutes and 11 seconds, because that's what I saw when I looked at the timing, but I didn't, because it's 1 hour and 3 minutes and 38 seconds, so I guess I actually just saw 11:11, which is so funny, because then you can see how the spiritual works, like, things, it was there, and then it wasn't. It doesn't mean it wasn't actually there, it's just, it was different. I was seeing something differently. But yeah, no need to be afraid of your ancestors, and a lot of the work that we're doing around healing is for our ancestors as well. And even thinking about the ancestral existences of Earth herself, themselves, Everything is an ancestor. And so much of our revolution is around healing the ancestral experience, because we are all ancestors and we are all going to be ancestors. And what do you want that life to be like, you know? Because, you know, life is hard. And once you agree to life, you're also signing on to be an ancestor, which is also why it's very important that spirituality becomes more, it's more accessible again, and that we all talk about ancestry again, because it is literally a part of your existence. Now that you are alive, you are going to be an ancestor. Now that you've chosen to come to the earth and incarnate, you have also signed up to be an ancestor. And I don't know what that life is going to be like. I don't know what it's going to be like when I'm an ancestor. I have no idea. I really don't know. But that is something that I am signed up for. Can't escape it. There's no getting out of that. And that is kind of like a forever thing. I'm sure that there's like there is a piece to it. And there's probably a time when you can let go finally. Which is the piece that I think that we're all trying to bring now to many of our ancestral lines, which doesn't just make them disappear, but it's just a piece where it's like a harmony where you don't need to, it's like there's not even a need to call on them, or there's not a need for their space to be so physically there and so present, because it's just within you. It's just so naturally a part of you, because it's just so harmonized. It's so integrated, it's so balanced, it's just so peaceful, which is what we all deserve. But yeah, that's also another reason why spirituality deserves to be super accessible, and everyone deserves to understand what it is to exist in the universe, beyond Earth, you know, what it is to be a soul, what it means to incarnate, and how the incarnating experience is, you know, an experience beyond the physical as well. And it goes beyond, you know. It's so important to understand that. It's important to know what you're signing up for. Consent. It's about consent. You know, we have the right to be aware. And we have the right to be aware and not have that awareness scare us. And the only reason it's scary... Oh, sorry, I shouldn't be pulling these out. The only reason that it's scary is because right now it's already traumatizing enough. That, yeah, of course you're afraid of what death is like. Especially when all the narratives around death are like heaven or hell, you know. Are you going to heaven or are you going to hell? Or it's like just this eternal bleak darkness, and like you're rotting in the ground, or like what's happening, you know. Like, we just deserve to know a little bit more, just so that we don't have to be so afraid. Like, God, it's just the fear of it all. It's like so many of us are just living in fear, and it's not really our fault, because there's just so much information that we just don't have access to. And no, you're never going to know everything. And that's not even what we're asking for. We're just asking to know enough to be at peace. You know, everybody deserves to understand themselves, which is really all that you're asking for. Just understanding a little bit more about yourself. Everybody deserves to know about where they come from. Everybody deserves to know their history. Everybody deserves to know where they are. You know, it's like refusing to tell somebody like where they are in the world, or what time it is, or what day it is. It's just like, why? Like, what? It's like refusing to tell somebody their name. It's like taking somebody's name away. That's literally what it's like when you are an incarnating being and you just don't get any connection or any understanding of what else is beyond you, because it's not like that just disappears because you don't know about it. No, it's still very much so there. It's just that we just don't get to really know anything. It's just like you just have to be in the dark. And so then that also makes us so upset with darkness and that energy, even though it's not darkness's fault, it's not death's fault. You know, if they could tell us, they would, but there's so much like, no, all these blocks and all these barriers, and that's not real, that's not true, blah, blah, blah. What is real? What is reality? What is truth? You know? And everybody makes fun of those people, but those people, the people that ask those questions, like, it's true. It is true. What is real? And, you know, I get irritated too, but I'm just like, girl, it's still true. It's still very true. It's just like allowing us to be in the gray, like, and not be ashamed of the gray, or not feel ashamed of the blurry and the confused. It's okay to be able to ask a question and get an answer, and then realize that you have another question now, you know, but it's just this fear. And yet we also have this obsession with expansion and with awareness and with knowledge, but not in the ways that are the most helpful to us being at peace with our situation, you know. It's more so just in ways that try to make us get control of the situation, which is just one of those things where I'm not sure if we're ever really going to have full control, because I'm not even sure if spirit has full control. Because if we are all reflections of spirit and all the many versions of spirit and all the many understandings of what spirit can be, and through everything you can see that there is a need to surrender, and through everything you can see that there is a randomness and a lack of control, then that is also just in spirit's existence as well. So that just is existence. That randomness, that lack of control, you will not be able to control everything. God is not able to control everything. Spirit, the universe, is not able to control everything. I truly believe that. Because if they could, they would. That's what I have to believe. And maybe that is just my own, what's it called? Hope. There was 1, 10, 11. But I have to believe that. Because if they could, they would. If they could, they would. They can't. And there's nothing wrong with acknowledging that there are some things that God can't do for you, that spirit can't do for you, that the universe can't do for you. Everything cannot just be, maybe everything can just be wiped away, but there's still going to be something else. You know what I mean? Like, that's just existence. Everything's just trying to be figured out until you realize that there's no point in trying to figure everything out, because you never will be able to. And then just being at peace with that is really what we got to do. Yeah. So all I'm asking for is just some peace. I just want some peace and some quiet. That's why I love this part, because usually I'm alone, and I really do love to be alone. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a huge introvert. I used to think I was an amnivert. No, or maybe I will be later on when I meet people that I'm happy being around and still being able to be quiet. But I love peace and quiet. I love my alone time, where I'm also still close and connected. Like, I like having this much space around me, and then also still knowing that there's like somebody down the hill, like I don't want to be alone. I don't want to be deserted. I just need my space. So yeah, like, I'm a lover. I want to be with my soulmates, and I want to be with my soul family, and I love my family, and I'm a Cancer. But I'm a Cancer, so I also really need to be alone sometimes, It's that aloneness, but not being alone. Never lonely, but I like to be alone. Something like that. That balance. But anyways. Yeah. I am feeling better now that I've gotten to say so much and get it off my chest. I haven't made a long video like this, I feel like, in a while, in like a few days, because I've been making videos and having messages for a good consistent time for like the past week or so, which I'm happy about, because I like talking, and I like having these things to say, and I like sharing it, and I'm really excited to get to the point where I can see or connect with other people and talk about things like this, and have them have things to say too. I like just talking on my own. I am just a talker, and it is kind of therapeutic for me. But I also am excited to get to a point where I can engage with people about these things and not have it feel like I'm just like being like it's just like me performing like being kooky and crazy, like I'm really legitimately getting to talk about it, and I'm being taken seriously, and we're both taking each other seriously. I'm excited for that type of energy, because sometimes, even when I am sharing these things, I still feel kind of like I'm being like the person that is like saying like the crazy stuff, and I was like I'm like a girl in a movie, like. And sometimes I don't want to feel like that. Like, I don't want to feel crazy. And it's not like I don't know, it's complicated. Nobody's making me feel crazy. But when sometimes you just feel like you are fitting that performative element for somebody in somebody else's life. And it's not malicious or anything like that, but you can just feel that is the way that they see you. Like, I just want to be seen as I feel so, like, because I understand how this could be taken, but I just want it to be like a normal thing, and connect to somebody who really feels this way as well. which I feel like when I find that, I'll find my soulmates. And I have that with like my sisters, you know, and I can do that sometimes with my bestie as well. But I need more of that energy around me, and I need to find a way to bring that into my life as well. So, yes, but yeah, like I said, I feel much happier now, and I need to stop pulling these out. I'm sorry, I'm picking at the grass, but I feel lighter now. You know, my chest doesn't feel as heavy. I still feel some things, and I'm not going to try and rush for it to go away, but I do feel better. And I'm just going to try and book that thing, book my trip, and not overthink it, you know. Money will come. It always does. And I have a job, so I know that I will have money coming in once I get back from the trip. And debt is one of those things, like I'll pay it off eventually. I'm not going to be in debt for the rest of my life. I deserve this trip. I need it. And if I can swing it, I can, I'm pretty sure. There is I do have like a budget, because I only have a certain amount of credit. So I can't go over that. I just physically can't. I'm not allowed with my credit, and I only have a certain amount of cash, and it's not a lot. So, you know, I do have an amount that I can spend, and which is why I'm trying to get it done in this amount, which is where the frustration came from. It's not like this thing of like, I'm scared about the money. Like, it's like I have a certain amount that I can actually spend, that I actually have. If I even consider like credit something that I have, that's where I'm at. So I need it to fit within that frame, and I need to not have to spend any money on anything else, you know? That's why I need it to be like all inclusive, like that type of experience. And I want it for the full 6 days. I don't want to have to only do 2 nights, because that's all I can afford. I got 6 days off. I want my full 6 days of vacation. And I want it to be a vacation. I want it to be somewhere where it's at least my own space. That's all I'm asking. And I don't feel like I'm asking for a lot. It sounds complicated, but it's really not that complicated. What's complicated is the amount of money that it costs. So that's where the frustration is built in, you know, because I'm just like, ah. But it's okay. I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to book myself a little trip, and I will update you guys when I'm there, wherever I end up going. I just want to be by a body of water, and I want it to be nice weather, but not too hot, not too cold. And I want to not have to think about food and things like that. And I don't really want to have to talk to people. I don't really want to have to socialize, if I'm being honest. I'd love to just be left alone, to just wander. And I'll have a cute little 1-2 conversation, but I just don't want to have to be committed to engaging with people. This is really just my time to just turn my brain off, turn everything off, and just talk to myself, and just sing and dance and be really happy and just at peace and just connect with the earth. And that's really it, which is why I was even thinking about doing a silent retreat. But can you believe the amount of money that those cost? Oh my gosh, holy. But yeah, anyways, it'll be okay in the end. I shall figure it out. And yeah, but I do think that I've actually been doing pretty well. Sorry, the wind is kind of blowing. I do think I've actually been doing pretty well with treating myself and not using money as a fear thing. I get my Starbucks when I can. I'm gonna have to stop eating. Spirit is I don't know. I feel like it's spirit and it's my ancestors that are changing my stomach composition. I can't eat certain things. I can't. It's making me sick. I can't really have my Beyond Meat breakfast sandwich anymore, which is okay because I was kind of getting sick of it anyways. But I can't have things that are too sweet and too salty anymore. And it's not even things that you would have considered salty. A year ago, I wouldn't have been this is salty, but now it's it makes me sick. So I do have to work on that. So that's something I'm aware of. But it's good ultimately because it is making me healthier. which I want to be healthier. So ultimately, I'm not mad at it. It is just a new development also. I don't know, has anybody else felt like their body's changing? Like their stomach composition, like they just can't handle certain things anymore? It's weird. It's very weird, but I don't mind it. It's not that bad. It's not really like an inconvenience or anything like that. So ultimately, it is good. And I'm thinking, like, when I have kids, I really am gonna raise them like alkaline vegan. Just because I'm just like, this is really seeming like what is the life that will give my kids the best health in their body and also make them feel like mentally good, and connected with themselves. It seems like being like alkaline, trying to be super alkaline, and trying to be vegan, and if not vegan, just like trying to get the most natural, most fresh sources of those types of stuff, I think is the best, just for the world that we're in. So yeah, that's just a random tidbit, but that's what I'm trying to do myself. I'm trying to go full alkaline vegan, and I'm slowly but surely. It's not too much pressure around it. Just if I can, whenever I can, eating less and less meat. And right now I'm pescatarian, so I think I'm on a really good track. And I'm stopping eating so much dairy. It's really just, I like my salmon and I have my crab cakes, and I don't know if I'll ever be full vegan. Like, maybe if they find a really good like replacement for like the hardiness that I can get from salmon and crab cakes, because I like, the thing that keeps me eating seafood is because I like comfort food and I like things that are like thick and warm. So I went through a period of just only eating pasta because that was like feeding my comfort food kick. But now for some reason I don't really like pasta, and the pasta sauce I made recently, I really didn't like it, and it's just turned me off from pasta altogether. I'm probably just sick of it because I've been having it too consistently. So yeah, and I'm sick of my crab cakes and I'm sick of my fried fish. So I don't have much left. I think I'm probably going to be on my way to vegan or vegetarian pretty soon. I don't know about when I'll get to vegan. I don't know when I'll get to alkaline vegan. Hopefully in the next year, but I'm trying not to put too much pressure around it, because I've also had this relationship with like diets since I was a kid. I've always like tried to be healthier. I've always been on this kick of like, I want to be healthy, I want to change my life since I was like 11. It's very strange, and I know that it's because of trauma around health, because I was a really sick kid, and even all of this like coming up with my health again is traumatizing because I had a traumatic childhood, and you know, I talk about it and it's hard because honestly no one takes me seriously. Like, it's actually very frustrating, like being a sick kid and then no longer being sick anymore at that level. It's almost like your experience, like it's like your experience is treated like it was fake, especially if you didn't have, like, I didn't have cancer, you know, so it wasn't that kind of sick kid. I have asthma, and it was really bad. And I always talk about how I deserve a disability check, and I do, and people are like, you don't say you're disabled, but like, I don't, you know, there's no shame in being disabled. It's a human experience. There are people who are disabled, and I feel like I had a childhood with disability with my asthma. I did. Like, I was in the hospital multiple times a year. I couldn't breathe. Like, it changed my life. I would have had a different childhood if I didn't have asthma. I don't know what it would have been like because I didn't have it, that I had asthma. But it's hard sometimes because it's like you're made to feel crazy. Like, you know, people laugh at me, but I'm like, I really like the trauma's real. And the trauma's even more real because, like, we were in America where there's no health care. It's like through your job or you pay it yourself. And we were immigrants. We are immigrants. I'm not in America right now. I'm in Canada. I'm back in Canada. There are so many traumatic reasons as to why I came back to Canada, because I don't really want to be here. It's not my desire to be here forever, but there are a lot of trauma responses that pushed me to choose to come here instead of go somewhere else. There's also trauma around that because the main reason I wanted to go to university is I wanted to study abroad. I love to travel. I think it's the Sagittarius. And I just come from a nomadic people, and people who migrate and move, and that's something that I love, and I wanted to do that. And I was like, I knew that school was a great track, an easy track, and I'm good at school, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it through school. And then everything kept getting canceled or pushed back because of COVID and canceled things and things like that. So then I didn't get to do my study abroad thing, and now I'm not graduated, but I don't really want to go back to school. I just don't feel the need. I don't see the point. I might, but I don't want to. And even if I do, I wouldn't be going to study abroad because I only have 1 semester left. So there's also trauma around that. But yeah, there's a lot of trauma right now coming up again because I'm sick. And I'm just like, and I especially have felt it I could feel my asthma not kicking back in at full speed, but I can feel it. And that's like a trauma trigger for me because I just have a lot of fears around being that controlled by my body again. And so when I was a young girl, by the time that I could be super conscious and aware of my body and what I could eat and my health, I had all these like addictions to different health things and workout things and diet things, and they never lasted because I couldn't be consistent with them because it wasn't coming from a place of, it wasn't coming from a healthy place, It was either like a body thing or a fear of being sick thing. And I had this girl in my middle school at one point tell me that I was going to be sick for my entire life, which was she gave me a hand reading. And she said that, and that traumatized me. Oh my God, that traumatized me. It sticks with me to this day. I mean, I was a kid when she said that, and I had been sick my entire life already. So I already had a complex around that. So that just that just twisted it. And it's just, I'm still working to remember that that's not true. And like, I'm in control of my life and blah, 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 blah. But being sick right now doesn't help. And I'm realizing that I've got to do what I can to be in control and change my body stuff, what I eat and things like that so that I can be healthier. But I'm also trying to do it in a way that's not a diet and not super high pressure to the point where I burn out and then stop, because that's what happened a lot as a kid. And I also just had this pressure of responsibility over my health. Even though I was a kid and I didn't ask for any of these things that I was dealing with, and I didn't cause them, they were passed on to me. I still had such a responsibility over making sure that I didn't, die from it. And it was just like, oh my God, it was just too much. And it was all things that just aren't given enough weight so that no one else really feels bad for you, but it's still traumatizing. It's still really bad. Like, I also have eczema, and that's a traumatizing experience. If you have eczema, that is not a fun time whatsoever. But eczema and asthma are not things that are treated as significantly as cancer. And it's because they are very different. I recognize, but I'm just saying in terms of sicknesses, they're not treated the same. And so the amount of compassion and understanding for the trauma that can be acquired because of those experiences, if you're dealing with it from such a young age, are very different. And they're not really understood. There's not a lot of space held for that. So, I definitely have some pent up resentment around that. I can definitely feel that. And it's something I need to release, but I'm trying to release that by taking control of my health in a way that is not high pressure and feeling good about myself and treating myself when I want to, but also just recognizing when I don't, that there are certain treats that I don't want and that I just wanted because of either a sugar addiction or a salt addiction, which is also something that just runs in my family, and I think is just a problem in general for a lot of poor people and people of color and people who have had to make way with food in the ways that they could, and where food was a healing source, not really always physically healing, but sometimes mentally and emotionally healing. Though spiritually it might have caused some stuff, or even spiritually healing sometimes. But yeah, all of that's complicated. But why did I bring that up? I think I'm just sharing now. Just sharing what's going on with me. But yeah, dealing with that health trauma is something I think that is coming up a lot, which is also why I'm trying to, mental health trauma is something that I've been dealing with a lot this year. It's why I dropped out of university and I quit my job, and I really tried to, and I got rid of a bunch of friends, and I've been trying to heal this like sexual abuse relationship and the energy around that, and things with family, and that has to do with mental health stuff. So a lot of health things are significant in my life, and all of this, and even just this vacation, is me just trying to put my health first, my emotional health and my physical, spiritual, all of that health, by taking a break and recognizing that I deserve a break, even if I don't feel like I've, worked myself to the bone, because I do deserve a break where I can just switch off, and I don't have to think about anything or anyone, and that's why I think I cried, because I was just at the edge. And it just felt super frustrating that I had to deal with all this when I just want a vacation. But, I feel better just getting to talk about it. Oh, that's what I was saying with my ancestors, and with your ancestors, and with ancestors in general. Sometimes I don't think you have to, you don't have to know how to do all these spells, and you don't have to conjure them up with all these things. Like, sometimes an offering is just holding the space to talk to them, or allow them to talk through you. I think that's what it is for me, because for me, right now, I'm not in a place where I feel comfortable doing like spells and things like that. I just feel really comfortable talking and communicating, or writing, and like writing stories. That's my form of practicing magic, and that's my form of like craft. Like, I identify as like a witch, and as a healer, and my form of magic is talking and writing, and like singing and dancing, creativity, expression, things like that. Not so much spells and things like that. Like, I guess what you would consider the more stereotypical things that are associated with magic and witches and things like that. Mine is more so, verbal, emotional, grounded in the earth. I am really interested in herbalism, but I would like to create like healing remedies. So like, if I can find foods that are healing for like eczema and things like that, or like create lotions and things like that, that would be like a potion making that I'm interested in, and like oils and things like that. But not so much like, I need things that are I guess more grounded. So like the magic that I want to do, like if it is physical stuff, like if I'm making like a magic oil, I want it to like actually make a difference in your skin, or like actually be something that you can eat, and it actually like is really healing for you, not just spiritually but also physically. And physical is spiritual, so ultimately spiritually. But yeah, that's the type of magic stuff that I like to do. But like I was saying with talking to your ancestors, if all of that other stuff is just stuff you don't feel comfortable with, and totally understandable why, because there's so many narratives that have been put up around that, and fears, and it is just, it's a shaky line, it's a blurry place. You need to be educated, and it's probably good to have a mentor, but many of us didn't get to grow up with ancestors who were openly practicing that, or we just didn't get to know that part of our ancestral line, or that history in magic and witchcraft and things like that, and hoodoo, voodoo, all of these things. So sometimes what is most accessible, I find, is just talking out loud. And if you can just talk to your ancestors, I think that that's an offering too. And I consider this an offering. I'm going to consider this an offering. And sometimes, you need to voice it, but sometimes it's also okay for you to just trust that they know, because you trust that your relationship is so deeply embedded that it goes beyond having to vocally express that. And like, that's one of my insecurities. Like, I've found that, I'm always thinking about God. I'm always thinking about my ancestors. It's kind of just, it's in everything I do, and the way I live. It's always something in my heart and in my mind, but it's not always at the forefront, and I don't always announce it. And sometimes I feel insecure about that, because then I worry that, my ancestors or spirit thinks that I don't care, or that I don't recognize them, and then I worry about punishment, and I worry about what that means, and all of these things. And moving into a state of trust is also trusting that my ancestors and that spirit feels and knows my heart so deeply, and that I live in the energy of my heart space so openly that that is like an unspoken spoken thing. Like all of the offerings are spoken through the unspoken, if that makes sense. Like it's energetic, and I am an energy person. Sometimes I'm just very quiet, and sometimes I just don't say things out loud, but I still feel them and I mean them. And in some ways I really do need to work on my communication, because I do struggle with keeping up communication wise with people. But in other ways I do have to just trust, especially with my spiritual relationships. I have to just trust that they know, they know my heart. And when I can, and when I do remember, really make that open. And one of the ways that I do want to get better at just, like, I want to have an altar in my own place. I don't feel comfortable having it right now because I live with my family, and I want it to be in my own space. So right now I just have to trust that they know when I'm just talking to them, and when I'm in spaces like this where I'm alone, that they're always present, they're always in my heart. But then when I get my own space, I'm excited to have my altar and things like that. And it doesn't mean that I'm doing less right now. It's okay. Everything that I'm doing is okay. As long as I'm remembering and I'm acknowledging and I'm holding the space for them, then I'm doing what I need to do. And it's the same for you as well. You don't have to get all these magic oils and these candles and these, you don't have to make this special altar. You don't have to get this crystal and that crystal. You don't have to get these cards and those cards. It's enough if you just talk to them, and then if you want to build upon that in the physical and those other ways, then you totally can, and both ways are perfectly fine. But it's just that relationship and that trust through that communication in whatever way you communicate, that is really important, I think. And that's the same thing for when it comes to your ancestors and holding a space for them and bringing, healing to them through the work that you're doing here on earth, is sometimes just talking to them, or just talking like this and letting them speak through you. Because I also feel like a lot of what I'm saying and what I'm voicing is also an ancestral experience. This tiredness, this exhaustion, this frustration, these tears, this pain is ancestral. So when I voice this and when I get it out, I'm also getting it out for my ancestors, because everything, they always are speaking through me. They are always living through me, because we are all so deeply connected. That's what I mean when I'm like, when your ancestors can be at peace is when you can acknowledge that there is no need to like call on them or anything like that, because they are within you, because you're harmonized, because they're fully integrated. So everything I do is with them and through them. And it's like the same thing with God. Everything I do is an act of God, or everything I do is an expression of that spirituality, of that godliness. And same with ancestors. Everything I do is an act for my ancestors and an act of my ancestors. Everything I do is ancestral. You know what I mean? And that's the good and the bad. And we need to just acknowledge it, so that it's not just like sitting there in shame with the quote unquote bad, and just heal and work through it and allow it to be and integrate it and just move forward. And also recognize all of the blessings and the gifts that our ancestors gave us. It's hard when you are here and you feel like you're an ancestral or you're a generational healer, because then you're like, well, fuck. And that's another thing, like with our relationship with our ancestors, it feels like it's just out of trauma, but no. All of the blessings and the gifts that you have about yourself, like for me, my positivity, my ability to laugh, my ability to communicate like this, my connection to spirit, my awareness, my love of nature and of parks, my creativity, my style, all of that is from my ancestors as well. The way that I look, my features, my skin, my teeth, my nose, my eyes, my lips, my everything, my hair, all of that is from my ancestors as well. And I'm so grateful for that, because this is what gets me through, and I've struggled with my looks and things like that as well, but I find myself feeling more and more beautiful every day. And I have off days, of course, but overall, over the span of time, I can say that I feel this is the most beautiful I've ever felt. And this is also the most connected I've ever been to myself. Yeah. And this is the most connected that I've ever felt to God and to spirit, and to my ancestors and just to the universe around me. And I think that there's no coincidence that this is also the most beautiful that I feel. I just saw like another duck fly very low over there, and there's a little like hawk kind of, and I got this message that my ancestors kind of show up in the hawks that I see and also in the birds that I see. So the ancestors are around, which is like, hi ancestors. It makes me really happy. See, things like that are so sweet and so cute. It's just like, you see how close, like how the spiritual is literally within the physical, because the spiritual is the physical. You just see how the lines blur so beautifully, and how the gray is actually such a beautiful thing. The gray is such a beautiful manifestation. If we didn't have the gray, if we didn't have the in-between, we wouldn't have these experiences of seeing, you know, your ancestors through a bird and things like that, and recognizing that that bird is also a bird, but that that bird is also your ancestors. Like, it's both. It's everything all at once. It's just it's an awesome experience when you can live in that joy. This grass really needs some water because it's super prickly. It used to be in like September when I first found this hill, the grass was like really long and overflowing and fluffy. I loved it so much, but I love this hill regardless. I just can recognize that it needs some water. It's because it's been really hot recently, and yeah, that just made me happy though, because I saw the duck fly low, and then the hawk come. Oh, there's the hawk again! There's the hawk again. See? It's things like that. This is why I love nature. Because this is when I feel, oh, there they are again. See? There they are. Do you see them? This is why I love nature. Because I just feel so connected. And I love the city too, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm in the city. Like, this is still the city. It's just a park in the city. So you can have both. I love the city. I am not a city hater at all. And I love the countryside and I love nature. I just like it when everything gets to blend. And I'm not a technology hater either. Like, look at me, I'm on my phone, but I'm in nature. And there is a way to balance it. There is a way to be present and be a part of the world around you, the physical, natural world around you, and also be a part of the digital world and have it be a beautiful merging. And this is one way that it can be a beautiful merging. This is why I really want them to start having Wi-Fi in all public outdoor spaces, because I love getting to listen to other people speak while I'm alone in nature. I also like just sitting alone by myself, but I also wouldn't mind being able to like watch a YouTube video, watch like a reading, or listen to somebody talk while I'm in the park. I like that. I like things like that. That's how I blend the digital world with the spirit, with the natural world. For me, that's my way of connecting two together. I make these videos out here in the park because this is how I connect the two, and it makes me feel really comfortable and grounded. It's like getting to listen with my music in, like with my headphones in. Oh God, I always hate, this always happens. Maybe it's just, at least it's a reflection of reality. I always get that stuff around my mouth. But yeah, this is why I think that we should be able to have Wi-Fi, access to Wi-Fi everywhere you go, because it actually makes the world, I think it makes the world better, because then people don't have to sacrifice either one. Wi-Fi is a beautiful thing. If I can be in the park and talk to my family on FaceTime or on Zoom, or I can do work in the park, things like that. We are moving into a digital world, and it doesn't need to be bad. It could be beautiful. We can have access to all of these other things everywhere you go that also allows you to have access to more of the world, because you can have both. I just don't think that there's a need to just get rid of technology altogether and be rid of that. I just think that there's a need for balance. Right now, people deserve to be in parks and be outside, especially when it's summertime like this, and also get to watch the stuff that they want to watch or listen to what they want to listen to. And also I feel like if you have that option, it also makes it easier to just sit there in silence when you want to as well,
like, I shouldn't only be going to the park to just sit here in silence, or to like have a picnic with my friends, or just to listen to music on anything. Like, I should be able to go to the park and do everything that I would want to do at home as well. You know, everything can be home. Everything should be an expression of home for you. And everything should be like a comfort zone. Everything should be like a living room. Everything should be like a couch. Like this hill is like my couch at home. So when it's like nighttime and I'm at home and I'm filming my YouTube videos, this hill is like that expression of the couch in my like dad's living room. You know what I mean? And I love being here. And so I want us to just build, we need to merge the digital with the natural. So like, I was going to suggest that we also have plugs, outdoor plugs, but maybe we don't need to do that. Maybe what we just need to do is just have like, what's it called? I was just thinking, because we need chargers, because your stuff dies, but just like, what's it called? A wireless battery, personal, what's it called? The charging stuff, the portable charger, a portable charger, and Wi-Fi access, because I don't have unlimited data. So for me, that's hard to be able to just be out here all day long, though I would love to, because I don't have unlimited data. And yeah, so I need access to things like that. But that's something that I think at this point is a human right, and I think it would make people's relationship with technology a lot healthier, because we wouldn't be so afraid and so isolated, or either against it or so for it, to the point where you can't find a balance in the middle, because we would find a way to make it all blend together. Hi. So yeah, it would make it a lot better. But that's just something that I think, and I think I'm just, oh God, at this point I'm just saying a lot, because I'm just enjoying my time outside, and I'm enjoying, this is when I'm like, I totally could be a YouTuber, because I love just vlogging and talking when I have something to say. And most of the time, if I spend enough time just rambling, I'll find things to say. Because there's always something in my head. There's always something that needs to be expressed. Even if it's not always like a spiritual message, because even just talking about the human experience and just sharing, you know, things that are going on in my mind they're also spiritual messages, which is why YouTube is such an interesting place, and the internet is such an interesting place, because it's such a spiritual experience. But you know, again, we just want it to be balanced. You know, what form of spirituality are you experiencing when you're on Instagram for so long, and the only pages that you see are like really toxic pages, and you know, things that make you question yourself and compare your own experience to others. You know, that's not super healthy, and that's not a great spiritual experience. And that is the spiritual experience that we're having with the digital world right now. But there are so many awesome spiritual experiences that we can have in tandem, in connection to the spiritual world, to the digital world. And there are so many specific spiritual experiences that we can get from the digital world that we can't get here in the physical world. And that is something that we really want to dig into and not run away from. You know, the creation of FaceTime and this is like such a magical spiritual, you know, invention that the digital world gave us. Being able to talk to family that is on the other side of the world, but like face to face. Such a beautiful, magical experience that the digital gave us, that technology gave us. Being able to create these videos and share my thoughts in real time and have it recorded and then post it, and somebody else gets to watch it and have it connect to them in their own timing. And it's just like, it's blurring the lines around, sorry, I just like cannot. It's blurring the lines around like time travel and like even like telekinesis. Like we see how the ways that telepathy and like reading your mind is such a digital experience, and it's like that's how we're getting to these things that we consider supernatural. It's because of the digital. Like we are all aligning telepathically because of the digital world, because of the way that media has gone online and we all can see things all happening all at once in real time very quickly. We can connect with different parts of the world. We are closer to time travel and closer to telepathy and closer to these really important movements that felt, imaginary at one point because of the digital world. And it is a gift. It's not a curse, Do we need boundaries? Absolutely. Do we need a lot more education? Absolutely. But that will come with time, and we have to remember we're at the beginning. We have to be really patient with ourselves. Things have progressed really quickly over such a short period of time that, we're all very frustrated. But it's kind of like the birth of nations after. I was going to say the birth of a nation, but it's after the birth of nations that come out of colonialism, and there's all this frustration and pent up energy and anger over the way that things are. But we have to remember that it's coming from such a deep, difficult history, a tangled history that still needs to be moved through and worked through before. We can't skip all these steps. There is a process to things. There is a plan to things. And I think that if you can tap into your ancestral energy, it'll be easier to process things like that as well. Like for me, on my mom's side, we're South African. So we have apartheid, and it's been, I think, a little over, maybe close to 30 years, maybe a little over 30 years. I don't know exactly, but since apartheid officially ended, I'm not sure exact timing, so but yeah, since apartheid officially ended, and there's a lot of political unrest and social unrest and frustration with the younger generations and frustration and disconnection between younger and older generations because we want things to be different and we want change and all of these things, and we just have to be, and it's so hard, and it always happens to people of color because we're the ones that have been affected by colonialism. It's happened to a lot of black nations. And it's so hard because it's you guys, we want all these things and they're totally justified. And the anger over how long it's taking is absolutely understandable. But we also have to be so patient with ourselves. And also we don't give ourselves enough time to just celebrate, what we've gone through. In South Africa, apartheid was literally like slavery, if you ask me. It was just its own expression. It was different, and it's not the same as chattel slavery, but it was its own expression of slavery, if you ask me. And, that ended 30 years ago, not a very long time ago. My grandfather was a huge person in that movement. He played an incredibly large role, and, in his lifetime, I'm not sure if he'll really receive all of the credit that he deserves, and that's frustrating within itself. And, being his granddaughter, there's a lot of being descendants of movements like that. It's hard. There's so much pressure around wanting to, provide a legacy and keep up that and also protect that. And, there's so much pressure. There's a lot of corruption and things like that. But we have to remember that we're doing all of this, and it's been only 30 years with black people across different nations who experienced chattel slavery. It's been a little over, I think, 200 years for the States. For other places, and really it's been less, and really in so many ways it's still happening. But, in the official ending, in the Caribbean and different places like that, with British rule and French rule and all of these other places, Spanish stuff, it hasn't been very long at all. And, so the frustration is understandable, but you also have to remember that we're in a process. Things take time. And we are in the growing spurts of having to build ourselves up and we didn't get to start from a fresh, brand new, beautiful place. We started already with a bunch of history loaded onto us. It's kind of like what it's like to incarnate, right? You're born into the world and you're like, ooh, new experience. And then you realize, oh, wait, actually, no, past life trauma, ancestral trauma, whole world trauma, all these things that are dumped onto you so that it's not actually a fresh beginning. And then depending on the family that you were born into and the state of the world you were born into and where you were born, all these different societal things, what you were born, what race you were born into, what gender, all these things, what class, what sexuality, all of these things. It's never really a fresh start. And so we have to be super, super patient with ourselves and super, super kind to ourselves. It's the same thing with the digital world. And if you tap into that ancestral energy, which is also what your ancestors can help you with, is you can remember how to work through that. Because each of our ancestors have done it, because each of our ancestors have lived and died. And so many of our ancestors have been through oppressive states and have had to have new beginnings and rebirths and revolutions and all of these things. I'm sure at least one of us, at least every single one of us has ancestors that have experienced at least one revolution, It doesn't matter how far back it goes. Everybody has an ancestor or many ancestors who've experienced revolution. So therefore that energy is within you. You can tap into that and you can understand how to move through that, how to be a part of that, how to work through those emotions. It doesn't have to be so hard, but part of that process is connecting with your ancestors and not being afraid of them. Don't let different religions and different people in power either tell you that they're not real or that they're something to be afraid of, because they're nothing to be afraid of. Somebody telling you to be afraid of your ancestors is somebody telling you to be afraid of yourself. It's like somebody telling you to be afraid of life. That is, like, ancestors are just the reflection of the experience of life and death, So it's nothing, and saying that that's not real is like them telling you to deny yourself, to deny your own existence. And those people just don't make sense, And I get, that they're coming from very specific places, and I understand that their perspective they don't actually not believe they're coming from a different, way of looking at it. But just you pick your own path. You pick your own path of belief, because from my unique perspective, I've had people who are mostly logical try and tell me that everything that I'm thinking is wrong. But with my open perspective, I can look at how they see the world and understand that we actually see things very similarly. But from their perspective, because it's so closed off to anything outside of themselves, I'm wrong. You know what I mean? When we're actually both talking about the same thing, just in different ways. And so that's usually what it is. So just try not to let anybody tell you what to believe or how to think, and including myself. There are things that I'm not aware of because I come from a very specific perspective, but I'm open, and I would love to be open to growing and learning more and having new conversations. I truly do not think I know it all. So I want to learn, and I might be frustrated at certain points, and I might be defensive or, but I'll ultimately get past it. So feel free to share your experiences and things like that. And I'm somebody who loves science, and I really love that whole world. I think it's magical within itself. It's its own expression of spirituality, and scientists believe in something, so they're not atheists. There's no real, atheism is its own belief system. So is there really any atheism? Not really. Any true atheism? I don't think so. Yeah, but anyways, I don't know how I got all the way there, but yeah, I love the world of science and things like that. So this is not to down the science girls, because I love them, and I am a science girly. I just like to live in it all. I would like to live in it all, and I think that everything is an expression of spirituality. And so you could replace any term with any term. So everything is an expression of spirituality, including science, or all spirituality is an expression of science, and everything is an expression of science. It's whatever term you want to use. It's just whatever language you want to use. But at the end of the day, I think most of us are talking about and actually believe in the same thing, but we're just expressing it very differently. Which is why when I was saying, I made a video talking about how to build a kinder world, and I was saying that we don't all need to want to be on the same page about what we want to build. We all have such unique perspectives, and we all have such different, diverse needs that there's no way we're going to all agree, and that's totally fine. All that needs to be on this aligned is our hearts, and which is really just talking about, are you building from your heart? Is this something that is coming from your heart? Is this something that's coming from a place of love? If so, go ahead, and whether I want to partake in it or not is whatever. But if it's from your heart and if it's from a place of love, then it is ultimately feeding the good of all. So what I'm building these ikayas, and not everybody needs to go to these awakening ikayas. Not everybody needs to agree with me. I just need to be able to exist, and still be doing my thing. And you deserve to be able to exist and do your thing and build what you want to build. And there literally is space for all of us, because we all have something unique to contribute. And many of us will collaborate and agree with the same things. And some of us will have different agreements and different beliefs. And they can all totally coexist as long as they're aligned in a place of love. As long as they're aligned in a place of love, that's all that really matters. Like, we can all build our own worlds, and not all of those worlds can come together and make the earth, and they can all be different. And that's why I don't believe in borders, because it's like, you should be able to go wherever you think you can have the happiest life, and make sure that when you're going to that place, you're also integrating with that community and not trying to replace them and not exploiting them and not using the privilege of where you came from to weaponize that and use that against the people to kick them out to make space for yourself, because you think that you deserve the space but you don't want to work with what's already there. You know what I mean? Like, that's where it's violent. That's where migration can become violent. That's where it becomes colonialism. But many of us, and Earth is an immigrant planet, and I'm an immigrant. Many of us have ancestors who are immigrants. Many of us are immigrants, and the immigrant experience is the human experience, really at its bare bones. We're nomadic people. We move around, we explore, we live different places. We have different thoughts, we grow, we change, we evolve. Some people like to stay in their hometowns. Some people have to leave. Some people stay and come back. It is what it is. All different. But are you operating from your place of love? True love. And operating from a place of love means making sacrifices and being inconvenienced and being okay with that and compromising and working with what's already existing as well, right? Because it's not operating from a place of love if you only believe in what you believe in and nothing else can exist, or everything has to follow your way of thinking. Like, for me, I am pro-choice, right? I think everybody deserves a choice. I don't think anyone should be forced to get an abortion. I don't think anybody should be forced to keep a child or keep a pregnancy if they don't want to. I think it's a choice. Everybody deserves a choice. I understand the arguments. I hear it on both sides. And ultimately what I believe is that everyone deserves a choice. Everyone deserves a choice. You shouldn't have to go through anything, especially if we are going to fully understand what it takes to have a child, right? Because the mothering experience is so simplified, and it's not simple at all. And becoming pregnant and going through pregnancy and then dealing with postpartum and having a baby, even if you just become pregnant and you give the baby up for adoption, pregnancy and postpartum are life-changing experiences, and they are not easy life-changing experiences. It's not something that you can go through and then, never have to deal with the reality of ever again. And so that is not something that should be forced on anybody, if you ask me. So that's why I'm pro-choice. I also do believe, I'm also a spiritual girl. I don't know if I could have an abortion myself. I don't know. It really would depend on the circumstance. I would have to make that choice when it came that time. I can't say beforehand because I don't know. I don't think I'm ready to have a baby, but if I was in that situation, I don't know. But I understand the spiritual, all of those perspectives as well. I get it. I get that life is, a life, and all of these things and blah, 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 blah. I get it. But at the end of the day, if we are also advocating and taking care of incarnating people who have already incarnated, who are already here, and understanding what that their life is valuable as well, and that, it's not the end of the world if for some reason that soul doesn't get to come in at this time and doesn't get to be in this space, and this is where their journey is cut short, that is just, it's everybody's choice, because you're not making that decision alone, and it's on both sides. No, you're not making that decision alone when you choose to get rid of a pregnancy. Sure, there's a soul on the other side that doesn't get to come to this world now, but it's the same thing with pregnancy. It's not just the soul being born and getting to have a new life. It's that person, the incarnating person's life changing forever and going through a very, 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 very extremely difficult experience of becoming a parent and becoming pregnant and giving birth and having postpartum. It's life changing, and it's lifelong. You know what I mean? So it's not a decision to be made lightly, and it's not something that anybody can make for anyone else. That person has to make their own decision, and that's why I am pro-choice. Yeah, I guess I just wanted to say that, because I think that that's a situation where it applies, where that thing of like operating from your heart, which is why I think pro-choice is an expression of a kinder world, because people deserve options. You know what I mean? A child is it's not a light decision. That is not, it's not as simple as, oh, well, they're here, you're pregnant, so, people deserve to have a choice. People deserve to have a choice. And I know that that's hard because we care about every soul and every life. And yes, of course, but people deserve to have a choice. I would never want to be forced to do something that I don't want to do. And if you don't want to be pregnant, that's not something you should have to be. It's not something you should have to do. And this all comes with the revolutionizing around motherhood and around pregnancy and the pregnant person's experience, around the mothering experience, and understanding that shit deserves a lot more discussion and a lot more compassion and a lot more truth around what it takes than what we talk about right now. Because we all really, simplify it, and a lot of mothers simplify their experiences and don't share everything. They don't share the full truth of their experiences because they're not given the room to. Because there's all this shame and this expectation, well, you should enjoy this and you should blah, 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 blah. But it's not a joke. That experience is not a joke. So, yeah, pro-choice, I think, is an expression of a kinder world. You can have a different opinion, and I'm not going to attack you for having a different opinion. That's also an expression of a kinder world. But, being kinder also means taking accountability for the ways in which your opinion is violent and oppressive towards others. Pro-choice for me is like, you can also not get an abortion, and no one should ever be able to force you to get an abortion. If you're someone who somebody would say is quote unquote in a situation where they shouldn't be having a child and you want to have a child, you shouldn't be pressured into doing anything you don't want to do. You should be able to keep that child, and we should have a world that helps you, if you're in a situation that is not the greatest, but you still want to give birth and you still want to have this child. You know what I mean? So that's also pro-choice. But the problem is that for the people who really push for pro-life, even though pro-choice to me is pro-life, they don't, you're not also in tandem building a world that is supportive of mothers and supportive of babies and children and supportive of parents and pregnancy and that experience, So it doesn't really make sense. And so you're not really pro-life because you don't really care about their life. But, that's my personal opinion. But yeah, and like I said, I'm a spiritual girl. I want the best for every soul, and I want every soul to have a chance. But I also want incarnating people to be taken care of. And what can I say? You can try again somewhere else. Sorry. Not to be, dismissive, but for real, like, give it a rest. People shouldn't have to do anything they don't want to do. If you ask me, it's hard enough in this world. And I think that abortions wouldn't exist unless they needed to, because the creation of things like abortion is not easy. No, it's not an easy choice to get an abortion. It's not an easy choice, no matter what it might appear like. It's not an easy choice. So they wouldn't exist unless they really needed to exist. That's just how I feel. We live in a world where abortions are necessary. There are reasons why people do not want to have children, or do not want to have a child at this specific time, do not want to be pregnant. There are reasons, and they are valid, justified reasons, whether you agree or not. It's not really, it's not your business. But yeah. And if you're someone who's offended by abortions, then it's like, this is why we need to create a kinder world where you can live in a place where there are people who feel the same way. And then people who are born into a place where everybody feels one way and you feel differently should have the ability to move and have the ability to go somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like, it's not about just erasing a whole mindset, because that's not possible. There's always going to be someone who doesn't agree, right? But you shouldn't have to be in that space with that person like it's a prison. You know what I mean? Like, that's one of the problems with the States and with so many of our places, is that we are trapped in spaces with people with like fundamental differences where it's like, it's just a difference that's never really going to be erased. And yet you're forced to stay there because of economic means, because it's just the country you live, and immigration rules are strict and difficult depending on where you're from, and it's just hard. And trying to make a space for yourself within those places are very hard. It's very, very hard. And I think we're just seeing an example with Roe v. Wade being turned back, and it's really sad. But I think that we're just going to see people leave, and honestly, good for people, because those states should understand what it looks like, what happens when you take away people's basic human rights and spiritual rights to make decisions for yourself, and not be ruled by some bigger thing that, doesn't have to be in your body, doesn't have to actually go through anything that you're going through. It's not fair. And we are not allowed to, it's not fair to compare our experiences. So just because you're a mother and you could have gotten an abortion, but you didn't, or you did get an abortion and you regretted it, doesn't mean that you have a right to now speak for other people. That's your experience, and your experience is valid, and you should be heard. But it doesn't mean that you should get to erase that choice for somebody else. It means that you deserve to have a space to be heard and to heal, and for people to be understanding and to listen to you and see your side. And that's why it's pro-choice, because there's always an option. You know what I mean? You don't have to. You should never have to. And we should never build a world. We shouldn't have a world where people feel like they have to. Many people feel like they have to have an abortion, because we live in a world that does not take care of people once they have children, especially women, especially mothers. We live in a world that does not take care of children. So, yeah, people feel like they have to have an abortion. It is what it is. It's not people being selfish. It's really not. Like, for most of the stories that I've heard, it's really not a selfish thing. It's I have to, because I cannot give a child the life that I want to be able to give them without, right now, with the place that I'm in at my life. I just can't, and I don't want to, and so I'm not going to, and that's valid. Sorry, it just is, if you ask me. But like I said, everybody's allowed to have their own opinions. You just, kinder world. Kinder, more considerate world is what we're trying to build. More compassionate world, more understanding, where we hear each other. I cannot believe I've been talking for 2 hours. I'm gonna definitely go now because I need to go home and eat. But I'm really happy that I filmed this, and I'm going to post it today. It's going to take like 8 million hours to upload, but it's okay. Yeah, I'm excited that I got to film this. I'm going to go home and just like relax. And yeah, so bye. Thanks for listening, and thank you, Spirit. Thank you, Mother Earth. Thank you, ancestors, for being here. Thank you, Spirit guides. Thank you, angels. Thank you, archangels. Thank you, just energy of the world. Thank you to myself. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for everything. Thanks, Starbucks. Thanks for the grass and Canada and everything. For everything. So, yeah. Goodbye, everybody.